yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna get some we get some writing in today. I'm gonna put my fan on. It's a little I'm gonna be honest with you. 75 degrees out there already. I just gotta plug my fan in so don't run out. Nothing worse than your fan running out on you. Where do you think you're going? These wires hanging off of my filing cabinet. All the various cords to various implements. The cat is just, she just staring at him. She's like, I am going to play with that. First, I'm going to lick my arm, though. Then I'm going to mess with that. That is definitely something I'm messing with today. But in the meantime, I gotta finish. All I gotta do is finish a chapter. It's like a page, and I'll be happy. Maybe you'll be happy. Somebody better be happy. Okay. People always walk by and they look at the little free libraries like they have no idea what they're looking. They're just completely confused. They won't stop and look. They just keep walking, but they're just like, the lady just walked by like, what's going on there? What are these? What's this thing with pages of writing on it? Just hear my stomach? Whew. I had shrimp with pasta for lunch. And I'm going to be honest with you. Whatever they put on the shrimp was a little spicy. I just buy those packets, like those. Keep them frozen, throw them in a skillet for 8 minutes, warm them up, and they got two big globs of buttery substance in it. And it all melts and you mix it together, but I guess it was some kind of, I don't know. I don't even know if they really even mentioned that it was spicy. But for me, it was a little spicy. Not bad. Especially once I did a 60-second microwave bag of pasta, gemelli pasta. Throw that in, mix it up with all the spices and sauces. Delicious. Mm. Pretty good. There's Keith. Good afternoon. Sorry to stick around for your technical difficulties today. Well, my technical difficulties, what I get like 7-8 minutes in, and then my internet went out, and I didn't realize it at first. And I was just talking, and then I looked and I went to write something, and it was like, "You are offline." I'm like, "What?" And then, since I'm an idiot, I had to send my wife a message like, "Xfinity, the internet's out until when?" She's like, she looked it up. She's like 3:00, and I'm like, "Oh." Then I was like, I go to the bathroom anyway. So I go to they go to the bathroom. I come back, and about 5 minutes later, it came back on. So I jump back in, and I ended up doing like 2 hours yesterday. If it drops today, I'm done. Lorraine says, "Hey, Armin, I pulled myself away from shopping online." So that's not good. That's not a good habit to have. I'm always like, "Hey, I'm going to buy a book, or I'm going to buy 30 books." Chad says, afternoon, 703 words in Picasso Trigger this morning, and I did end up doubling my word count last night. 18,000 words in. Awesome. How long is that book supposed to be? 18,000 seems like novella length getting there, which is what you normally write. I have therapy at 3, so my goal is probably to get an hour and a half in today. If I get 2, I get 2, but the goal is an hour and a half. And then probably take a power nap. If I had to guess, it'll probably end up close to 30K shots. So you're more than halfway there. Key says, I managed to complete the first draft of Edgar Allan Poe and the Conquer Worm. Very cool. Congratulations on that. Keep it going. Keep it going. I just need to finish this chapter. Then I can send it back to Tom, and then hopefully Tom won't take 10 days to write the next one. Oh, Lorraine says, just got a lovely rejection from the last literary agent who had my full manuscript. So I'm all in for self-publishing now. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but hopefully long term, it helps you. How many literary agents did you send to? Our friend, she sent to like 5, and she's like, well, I'm just going to self-publish it. But then I had a guy, John David, who I interviewed, and he had like 137 agents or something like that. About 100. So yeah, you've done your research. That's what I was going to say. If you did like 4 and 5, you're like, maybe get lucky. Who knows? I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of authors who sent to the first agent, and who can say? Now you just got to figure out a good cover artist. You got to figure out an editor. You got to figure out formatting. Chet says, "There's apple pie in your beard." No, I took a shower. I took a shower yesterday, and I haven't had apple pie since. You don't want to hear something funny though. I took a shower and I'm washing it, and also I'm like, what the? Oh, it's rice. It's rice from my Chinese food. From what did I have? Monday night, and then Tuesday I had Chinese food. I had the leftovers for lunch and dinner. Who are these people? That's like just a random couple just walking. I'm like, I've never seen you before. I do still have one more apple pie though. I'm trying to be good. I've eaten all the Entenmann's Devil's Food Cake donuts. The other good thing is Friday I go to breakfast with Andrea and Wynn at that donut place up in Yulee, and I'm going to buy a dozen donuts if I can get there early enough. They sell out pretty darn quick. Pretty darn quick. Sorry for the language. Keith said, "Did you ever finish all 50 states for the state of horror?" No, no. I'm going to tell you a little story about that, Keith. I wish Frank was here. I did like 3 or 4 states, maybe. And then a gentleman, I will not mention his name, came in and bought the series idea from me. And he was supposed to pay me for every release that came out. I would have a story in every release that came out. Either a story in one of them that he already did, he redid like Texas and New Jersey and maybe Florida. And I was in those. Let me look. He ended up doing 5 of them. Not paying anybody for their stories, and he had his then wife and friends do bogus reviews when they first came out, which were really obvious. And he got a lot of heat for that. And then he never paid me for. I basically gave him an umbrella number of, give me X number of dollars, and you can take over the series. And then for every release, I want X number of dollars, plus my story in the thing and royalties from that, blah, blah, blah. And I got nothing from him. And he put out 5 of them, and then he ghosted everyone. No, it is not someone that you know. This happened many years ago. Probably those things are probably 10 years now. And so give us some, you would never, you don't know this person. You 100% don't, unless you looked up State of Horror books on Amazon with the red covers and you saw his name on it, you would never know who it was. And he's not in publishing anymore as far as I know. Who is this woman with a dog now? Where are all these people? Anyway, it's like I got all new neighbors just walking around with dogs and stuff. Somebody else coming? This is crazy out here. It's a wild, wild west. Chad says, LOL, that's all the clue I need, yeah. And so him and his friend, this woman, who became the editor on those, even though she had never been an editor before, but they'd been friends forever. And then it turned out that he was having an affair with her, with his second or third wife, and he ended up leaving the wife and shacking up with this other woman. And then he never paid anybody. The reviews, a lot of the reviews were taken down, or people complained that these aren't real reviews. This person reviewed it and has your same last name kind of thing. And he thought he was going to game the system, and he was going to have dozens of reviews for people that hadn't read the book that he worked with. And then he was rude to another author's wife. She's also an author. He said he made a very derogatory, disgusting remark about a sexual thing to her. So she was really turned off by that, and he just ended up being a jerk. Frank would probably just spill the beans on it. I'm not going through all that stuff, but so Keith, you brought up a really a low point, and it's still listed on my Amazon. I've tried to take them down 100 times and they won't. So even though he hasn't paid anybody, even though his company, a bunch of people sent a thing to like Writers Beware or HWA and everything. Nobody's really done anything as far as I know. But I don't even see him online. Every now and then Frank will find him and her and update me on what's going on. And I get annoyed, and I'm like, I don't care. Because you run into all kinds of jerks in this business or any business. Yeah, I'm actually probably get about maybe less than a page left. Chad says, I compiled and edited an anthem about 10 years ago for a different publisher. We had a split royalty, worst idea ever, and we all got paid once, like 7 cents. Yeah, I've been in a bunch of those over the years. There was a when we did the Middletown Apocalypse books with Jack Wallen. I think there was 4 of them. Where's that? I like how all my books are behind me though. 3 of those. We each wrote a zombie novella in the same area. It was a good concept and everything else, but they didn't sell well. And actually, there was 4 books because the 4th book he never even did a print version for, and we had it split through like Indie Right. What was the name of that thing? I got to look it up because it's still on my money sheet. Indie Rights. They did the splits of the money, and it was literally like every month I got like for 4 books. It was like, here's your 40 cents, and I mean from the beginning it was like a couple of dollars. Chad, I also did the cover. Then he threw some stuff on the cover after I was done with it, made it way too busy and ruined it. Frank says, you don't write 100% of the words you don't think about. I read about 79% of those. Frank, Keith, who I've known forever, brought up the State of Horror books. I told him that story about you know who without mentioning his name and how he screwed all of us over. Chad says, okay, Gretzky. Yeah, 79% is not 100%. It's more. My webcam. A little dusty on. Somebody should be dusting this office, and that should be me. There's a duster here around here somewhere. 100% of State of Horror books are tainted. Yeah, pretty much. Keith says, I asked because I came across a story I did for Georgia, and it got me wondering. Were you involved with it? Was your story in? Oh, wait, we never did a Georgia one. Yeah, I don't think we did a Georgia one. Suppose he was going to do all of them, but then he did like 2 Louisiana because he'd gotten so many stories in. He had all these big plans. I remember he dressed up like like the Grim Reaper and did a video of him going into like some bookstore or something. I don't know. I saw Louisiana and Florida on there. So there should be 2 Louisiana and a Florida. Florida. That sounds like my mother. Hold on, let me look. Oh, there's Illinois, New Jersey, North Carolina, and 2 Louisiana. If the Florida one is blue cover and out of print, that was the original one that I did, like, God, 2009 or something, maybe. Yeah, he did love the Louisiana ones. Frank's in Illinois and New Jersey. Right now, he's standing in both states. How are those royalties for those 2 books so far, Frank? Pretty good? The fact that they're still up there just annoys me to no end. It is yeah, anything is possible. 79% of anything is possible. Whoa. Those royalties kept me swimming in bazooka bubblegum for 5 minutes. Well, then you got more than I did. He had all these big plans about he was going to eventually buy printing equipment himself, and he was going to do all the print books, in his spare bedroom, and then sell them direct. He also had a contract with he had a in a part in his contract, which every time I said, "Yeah, take this out," was if you die, then and your story is not finished for whatever book, then he owns the copyright on the story, and if you die with your story in the anthology, then he owns the copyright on that story. Something stupid like that. Frank says, turns out I'm not very buoyant in a pool of 10 pieces of bazooka. Yeah, he got sidetracked by a side piece. Yeah, exactly. I already said that. His side piece of his side piece, because he was married, had a kid, and then he started having an affair with the woman that he was with when we met him. And she was a piece of work. And then he cheated on her with his friend for forever. And then he eventually got divorced from the second wife. And I don't know if he married this other lady. He probably just immediately started cheating. He worked for a very, very big company. He was like he would travel all the time to various South American countries for stuff. So I'm sure he was swimming in prostitutes. And probably doing better swimming than Frank with his bazooka bubblegum pool. Matt says, sadly waiting for my Mac to update before I can start writing again. Chad says, Silver Shamrock was a promising publisher doing things right until the mob pulled out the pitchforks and torches. Yeah, I forgot about them. Silver Shamrock. I don't even remember what was the downfall. I do know I need to use a back scratcher. I don't even remember how. Are you kidding me? It's stuck in my shirt. I can't believe it. I mean, I guess it broke, but it's still a back scratcher, right? I mean, I could still use it, but I'll just switch to the original, which lost a prong. These things are hundreds of dollars. You'd think they would make them better. My back really itches. Remember, he tried to publish a racist sounding book by an old white guy. Vaguely remember that. Silver Shamrock is just one in a long line of publishers that got caught up in something that they did or somebody said, or you know. Frank says, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I think that guy kept poking the bear before that. Yeah, that's funny. I barely remember all. I never worked with him. I would love to go back like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years and see all of the who try to remember who was around then and who was we always thought were these are good people. We're going to work with them, and then you got burned. Permuted press? Wasn't that guy who was just ridiculous? So many. I was supposed to write it was the best job a moron like Jake could have, but instead I wrote it was the best job a Mormon like Jake could have. Jake in this story is not a Mormon. Chad says, for starters, Ken had used the term something in its original meaning. I know what you. Yeah, you don't say that. The perfect word for the point he was making, but then people said racist because they didn't realize what it really meant. Because they know what the racial implication is. Yeah, he says a sticky situation. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like once you're on that list in people's minds that you've done something wrong, it's very hard to recover from that. And to argue and explain yourself only makes it worse. I mean, then there's how many publishers that over the years have not paid people, late payments and no payments. They just disappear. You got books left in limbo. You got people on vacation just doing the limbo. Usually they just don't pay you like a real man. Yeah, they're not saying racist stuff. They're just ignoring you and not paying you. Mr. Frank. I did not have a great day yesterday with the hours. Of course, 5 days ago because it was Saturday. Saturday seems to be the day that I don't get a lot of views, but also Saturday was also Valentine's Day. So I need everybody to watch as I need you to put the playlist on Saturday and let it run for 10 hours. Chad says, and then some guy wrote a place-holding synopsis for an upcoming Shamrock book that didn't reflect the book very well and made it seem like white guys were saviors. That was the straw. Just so many, it's so many missteps by these people over and over and over. Keith says, I disconnect from the computer on the weekends, nurture the marriage. Yeah. Listen, Lisa called and she said, hey, can you keep him busy? I just need some time to myself. Here's what you do. You don't disconnect. You just put the computer in the corner and then you run all of my videos on it all weekend with the sound muted. Chet says, then Ken had a nervous breakdown and nearly killed himself over the bullying. He had a lot of death threats and phone calls at home. His family was scared. Yeah, Lisa, and Def Jam. Lisa, and the Cult Def Jam. With Def Jam. He says he'll keep that in mind. You want to spark up the marriage? Put my videos on, and then you guys start making out, and she could watch my videos while you guys are doing it. More love advice anytime you want it. Is Ken still around? I don't even remember what his last name was. So hurtful. Good times. Ken McKinley is still around. He's a good guy. He's still running the Goodreads forum. Yeah. I don't really talk to many. I don't really talk to many people at all, except for you guys. Chess is the irony of having this discussion about racism in writing while Armand wears an ATP logo shirt. Exactly. Is there a window of time you have to meet the 4K hours? Yeah, 365 days. So like this morning, February 19th of last year, dropped off. So I'd lose any hours from back then. There weren't a lot of hours, though. I am at around 2,000 of the 4,000 right now. The problem is then the hours that I watched last year, um, I'm losing. So it replaces it say last year on this day, I watched for like 5 hours, or somebody watched for 5 hours, and then today we watched for 10 hours, but I lose that 5 hours, so it's only a +5. So I'm fighting against last year's numbers as well. Luckily, I'm already over like 3,800 hours or something if you take the entire time I've been on YouTube, but they don't count that. They only count the 2,000 hours from the last year. Chess says I'm averaging around 10 to 12 hours a day of streaming your videos. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I'm doing good. I think I have, looking ahead, which I hate doing, I should do like 20 to 40 hours over the next 4 days, 5 days each day. So that will definitely get me maybe like 2,200, 2,300. A rolling 365 days, or just on January 1st you lose a little. No, it's a rolling. So like tomorrow is February 20th. So last year I lose those hours that I had on February 20th, which I think was like 6 hours last year I had tomorrow. So I'm already, every day I start, I'm already in a hole. And then Chad helps out with 10 to 12 hours. My wife is watching it at work for 6 or 7 hours in the background. I watch. The problem is, like a moron, years, even though I have 1,000 videos, last year, all those hours I'm losing now were from me watching them last year, thinking, oh, I'll definitely hit 4,000 hours, you know, not thinking that I would lose them. And then when I stopped doing that, I've watched them all 3 times already. So it's the new videos, like being live now, it's an hour, these say 2 hours, they count as one watch for me. Now I run it overnight or during the day for the other 2. I also did a review of the Tim Wagner Conan book today as well, which is about 12 minutes or so. So please add that to your list. I guess rolling by the ass, get rolling in the deep. There's Tom. Speaking of YouTube videos, the Tim Wagner for the book review win apparently. It's a good book. If you want to read it, Tom, let me know. Lorraine says, I try to have you on in the background often, but how about videos with music so I can type along to it? Yeah, no music in my videos. Because then the YouTube automatically, no matter what you do, they complain about everything. My dulcet tones of my voice, Lorraine, should be more than enough for you to write with. Frank said, so I'm doing you a favor for next year by not watching anything today. You're welcome. No. You're not understanding. By like June, I think I should have all my hours, and then I get monetized, and then I start making money. So watch it. I also just got paid from Twitch. $50. It's just $50 over for the last 2 months. So I'm still averaging about $25 there. So I will be on. It should be on Monday, unless I do a bunch more videos. I did a video yesterday about, or Wednesday, yesterday, about food in my stories. Everybody should watch that 3 times. I have another one coming up on Sunday. I have no idea what it will be. And then Monday, it's my hours start over. So Monday I will definitely be on Twitch and YouTube Live. Every Monday I'm going to do that. And also I'm not doing the Kick thing, and already StreamYard is like, well, you haven't been on Kick, so we're just going to delete this and you'll have to reapply. And I'm like, Or I just don't do Kick. Ooh. I'll kick you if you're not careful. Oh, good. It's 77 degrees out, and there's a freaking bunch of wasps flying around. I'm sure they made a nest somewhere. Lorraine says, give me a writing spring video with music, and I'll watch it on a loop. I'm sure there are tons of those out there, Lorraine. That's just not my thing. Watch one of those, then watch all of my videos on a loop. You only need to watch them 3 times, though. 3 times, but not in a row. So take a couple of them and watch them back and forth 3 times each. Tom says 37. I have no idea what that even means, Tom. 37 degrees there. It's 77 here. Lorraine says, no, just you taking a break with music as we're on hold. Practice in a row. I get that. The problem is then you got to find music that you're legally allowed to play. I remember the one time Frank named a song, and I looked it up on my phone while I'm sitting here, and I played like a snippet of it, literally 15 seconds of the song. I'm like, oh, I know this song. And immediately YouTube was like, yeah, you can't have that music on there. Do you want to cut that part of the video, or do you want to delete the whole video? Up to you. And I'm like, can you cut? It was like literally like 15 seconds. So I'm sure in that video there's like a weird thing. Chad says, trying to think of ways to start a conversation about Aunt Vinny's pantsuits, but have it start organically, and I can't. So here we are. Yeah. Lorraine says, or a greatest hits of your complaints about who's in your front yard. That would be a good one. You know what? I don't see the Canada geese anymore because the idiot at the top of the block, she's feeding them every day, and then they are in the across the street from me is the retention pond, and so the ducks are always there's like a hundred of them. Then they fly over the house making noise, and they land over there. There's also supposedly a couple of baby gators in there. So hopefully the gators will be big enough and they'll start eating some of those geese who poop all over my lawn. And a couple times I've opened the door and they've literally come right to the front door and pooped on the welcome mat. I'm like, now you guys are just being jerks. Very un-Canadian like. I've had several people today. I don't even know who these people are. They're just walking around my neighborhood like they live here or something. It's weird. Lorraine, if I was smart enough to do edits and stuff, maybe I would do something like that, but no idea. Nope. So I've gotten to the next page. So literally I got to do like 5 or 6 lines and then this gets thrown back to Tom. All right. Where am I on this? A few more lines and then this chapter is done. Chad says, this would be a fun mashup to write Dawn of the Ridgemont High, where zombies take over and all the characters are stuck in the mall with nothing to survive but Spicoli's dad's TV repairman toolbox. And then Frank says Ghidorah. Isn't that the chocolates, Ghidorah chocolates? Chad says, guess you have to be a Fast Times fan. Yeah, I guess so. I get, or you're reaching. Frank says, I want to write a horror story where the protagonist is menaced by the word nuggies. You know what? If you need any internal monologue or something, let me know. For instance, I can't remember much about the movie except for Sean Penn's goofy grin. I'll be honest with you, I haven't thought about Fast Times in a long, long times. Chad's so stuck in the past though, and I mean me, all I do is look at the future of everything. Movies, music, I mean all of it. Tom, if you're still on, chapter done. I'm also going to message you. This feels like the right thing to do. Hundreds of Wendy's are closing. Hundreds. Next page, Nick Zinn. Next page. Frank says you're reveling in the past, not stuck. Yeah, reveling. Yeah, like a revelation. I don't know. That was my goal for the day was to write that chapter. Or finish the chapter, really. Nick says, "Oh, I mean, chapter done." Well, I mean, I did get to the next page though, so you weren't wrong. The Wendy's up the street just closed. First KFC and now that. What's next? Dunkin'? Don't even say that, chat. Nick, that's joking. Not even joking around. Don't say that. Frank says, bask. Could you bask in past glory? Yeah. It's called past glory basking. They shut down a bunch of the Wendy's here. We still got a couple. Chad says, while watching a recent Kuntz interview, I did some research on that hair of his. I always thought it was a wig, but apparently it's an overly successful transplant. Not sure what to believe. Well, you remember his author photo from like the early 80s was him with a very receding hairline and everything. And then he got, what was the thing? Like, I remember he got plugs. That was the big thing. And I don't think they took. And then I saw an interview with him where there's an old interview from like late 80s where he's wearing a baseball cap and he looks really weird wearing like this black baseball cap. But yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard that he, whatever the thing, and apparently it's working very well. But here's the thing, dude, cut it. Like, trim it down. It looks like you just got a giant hair mushroom on your head. Just looks odd. That's all I'm saying. I'm like, odd, Thomas. See what I did there? So I thought he looked cool with his mustache and receding hair. Yeah, the problem was that it was at a time in the world where that really wasn't a good look. It was almost that porn stash that he had coming over from the 70s. Chester seems like a great guy, though. He told me he doesn't like you. He told me he doesn't want you to even talk about him. I'm sorry, but that's what he said. That's what Dean said to me. Or as I always call him, DK. He told me he won't read self-published stuff. you're thinking of Joe Lansdale. Nick, you ever wake up in the morning so angry the Hulk would back down from a fight? It's in one of those mornings. Well, that's not good. What did she do? Tell me what she did. I know it's that woman. You'd be like, woman? That was always my favorite thing with Jay Wilburn. His wife would say something, he'd go, woman, back down. Dean Schutzbach. Now what are we arguing with on the next story? I love reading these people. They're so illiterate. Oh, this guy is Carlos is very upset because the bar areas in downtown Jacksonville could be extended. There's a proposal that would allow downtown bars to serve alcohol until 3 a.m. instead of the current 2 a.m. Concerns about public safety are part of the ongoing discussion. Do not drink and drive, please. Carlos tells you. Somebody should write that down. And then here's this guy, Richard Lewis. I don't believe it is the comedian Richard Lewis. But basically, for 15 years, I've lived on the street where the new bars are opening. The neighborhood has deteriorated. Crime has increased. More assaults. A few shootings. Extending the hours will only make it worse. And somebody said it's only 1 hour. And now, for the rest of the day, these people will argue and argue about this as if they really have anything to do with anything going on. Frank says, I enjoyed the downtown Jack's Bar District. Yeah, we were on a street of it. That place is still there. A couple of the other places have closed though. Are we talking about a local Facebook page or some HOA message board? No, it's called Next Door app. It's all over the country. So if you go on nextdoor.com and you punch in your address or your zip code, it will show you all of the illiterate morons in your immediate area. Like I'm literally in this is called Dunn's Creek Plantation, the 350 houses here, and then I'm in an extended area of like 5 miles. So all the morons within 5 miles of me talk about it. And then people will go in like this guy who's like, I live downtown. Well, you shouldn't even be in this group then. They are arguing about the HOA thing again. My wife is, I am definitely voting to keep the HOA because I don't want junk cars and trampolines out on the front lawns and all that. So remember I was saying the other day, these kids were riding around on the go-karts. I mean, the golf carts and the mini bikes. One of those kids on a mini bike at like 6 o'clock the other night drove out of it's a mile from my house to the front of the subdivision. Drove out of the subdivision and down the road and somehow swerved into a car going the wrong way and was in critical condition, like a teenager. And I'm like, why are you letting your kids? Why do you have it? We're in a residential area here. Some of you have been to my house. Why are you driving around on golf carts and stuff? Nick says, do any of them complain about the geese not paying taxes? No, but I'm sure that's coming. They do argue with the lady who feeds them, though. I forget what her name is. But she's always talking about how they're God's creatures and they need to be fed. And somebody's like, they're wild animals. They find their own food. They walk around and they eat all of our grass and our weeds and stuff. You don't need to be feeding them. They need to go home. They haven't been home in like 6 years. So we have like an overabundance every year of a ton of little geese, little Canada geese running around. She's also very agitated when you say Canadian geese. They're not Canadian geese. They're Canada geese. Frank says Armand does spend a lot of time with the Nextdoor app, and he has strong opinions about the people who use that app. Draw your own conclusions. Yeah. Sometimes I'm reading, I'm like, I don't know what they're saying. I don't understand what you're saying or how you can spell that many words that wrong in a sentence. Lorraine says, that reminds me, I forgot to pay my HOA dues this month. Well, they're going to take your house. It was nice knowing you, Lorraine. Maybe you can, maybe you'll have Wi-Fi in your cardboard box that you've forced your family to live in. Chad says, people drive around here on golf carts too, and my neighbor chases the geese away from her yard. In the meantime, my wife and I love them when they stop by. When they stop by and they poop all their toxic stuff and kill your lawn. When your children are getting sick and having babies with 3 heads. Lorraine says, too many geese. I just want to see a heron. We have several of those walking around out here. We also have, I don't know what they're called, some white ones with really tall legs. They're not herons. They're I don't know. Neil told me one time. We have a lot of crows, like a murderous amount of crows here. I'm always just like, calm that down. And you guys are loud. Chad says they don't stop by enough for all that. They do crab a lot, though. The sandhill cranes stop by, too. Nick says, maybe you had more gators to eat the geese. That it's a problem. We did. We have gators in the pond across the street, but they're like, somebody said there's like 2, maybe 3 babies, little, but those grow pretty quick. So I'm hoping the gators get big enough that this lady's like, where'd all the Canada geese go? Well, apparently the gators thought they were delicious. Alligators haven't made it up this far north in Georgia yet. Then Frank says some weird word. A lot of people are like, oh, you're in Jacksonville. There's no gators there. I'm like, yeah, there is. In fact, they, in the St. Johns River, they caught a 16-foot American crocodile. Because Florida, we have gators and crocodiles. And some caiman. Chaz says, it's so surreal for those of us who don't live in the South to think about gators just walking around like that. Nick says, maybe if you had Canada gators, then nature would win. No, or we would all lose. And they call those Canadian gators for some reason. You can't just call them Canada gators. I don't know why. I've been down here 25 years. I think I've seen like 2 gators in my life. Not including the alligator farm in St. Augustine, like in the wild. I've seen way more wild boar than I have gators. How about coyotes and armadillos, Chad? Coyotes and armadillos. Chad lives in the, he lives up there in the wasteland, though. They don't have animals like that. Nick says, maybe the geese only want Tim Hortons but don't know how to order it. That could be it. Yeah, the problem is they got to go to Publix and buy a box of Tim Hortons. We're getting a lot of coffee places, little drive-through coffee places down. Coffee. I sound like my mom from New Jersey. Coffee. We had a lot of coffee places down here. Chad says, I can't think of any exotic animal that maybe you guys don't have. Maybe Petoskey stones from Lake Michigan. Canadian dry. No, they call that Canada dry. See? There's so many rules for Canada and Canadian. Chad says, I live in Southwest Michigan, only 45 minutes from Indiana. I'm not that far up. Who lives in Texas again? Volpe? Close. He lives in New York. Lorraine says, how the heck do I have the number 1 crown? I'm not doing most of the talking. Basically, how they do this is they say, okay, let's not give Frank the crown for number 1, so we're going to give it to somebody else. Chad, who now just took over the number 1, said, Lansdale lives in Texas. Yes. That's why most of his stuff has a lot of racist comments in it, because he lives the walk, he talks the talk, something or other. My wife was looking at one of those meat boxes where you order like 20 pounds of different various meats. She's like, I think we should try this because we run it. I eat a lot of chicken and I eat a lot of chuck, not chuck Buddha, just. And like last night, I'm like, well, we're gonna make hamburger helper tonight, but this is the last pound of meat. And we ate the ribs for Valentine's Day in the smoker, but we only have like pork butt and stuff, which you're not going to be like, hey, I'm working. She's like, hey, I work till 6 o'clock and now I got to roast something or smoke something that ain't going to work. I'm like, just buy a bunch of, just buy a box. We'll see if we eat it. 20 pounds of meat. That'll last us a month. Chess says, Dead Horse and DRI live in Texas. And Billy Milano. Do not forget Billy Milano. Nick says, someone on the Twitch chat lives in Texas. Not sure if they are on here yet. Peter Marsh lives in Texas. Peter Marsh, who has already paid for MondoCon this year. He's so excited. He will be here. So, Nick, you will get to meet someone from Texas. I'm sure you're excited. Frank said, "It's not you, it's me." Nick says, "More meat means another freezer, right? Not gonna start eating this stuff." I ate this bag of frozen shrimp with some kind of, it had like two frozen round things of like butter that you just throw it in the skillet and it all melts 8 minutes, and it was delicious. It was a little spicy, and it wasn't supposed to be. But then I know I'm a wimp, so that's probably why it was, for me. It was spicy. But and then I did a 60-second bag of gemelli pasta, and I mixed them together, and that was my lunch. But I'm like, good. There's another thing out of that bag of shrimp out of the freezer. I think I got like 4 more bags of those. I'm like, well, and I'm making dinner for myself tonight. Tonight might be cheese sticks. Like, and throwing a bunch of cheese sticks in the air fryer, and that would hopefully get rid of that giant box. Trying to get rid of this stuff. Can you legally go out and kill a gator and eat it? I don't believe so, because you have to have a license for X number of gators that they do a couple times a year. Yes, it is legal to hunt and kill gators in Florida, but it is highly regulated and requires specific licenses and permits from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the FWC. You cannot kill or possess an alligator without the proper authorization. They do a statewide alligator harvest program to sustainably manage the alligator population. It runs from August 15th through November 8th. So if you guys come to MondoCon the beginning of August and you guys want to stay an extra week and go gator hunting, that's on you. They are area specific. I know, like down in the Everglades, last year or the year before, they actually pulled the gator. You could not have a license to hunt gator down there because they were the gators and the crocs were getting their butts kicked by all the pythons and the anacondas down there. So they had permits. Some woman from Gainesville or something, I think, she caught like 400 and something python. You get paid like $50 a python or something. It's like an unlimited, kill as many snakes as you can down there, because they've eaten all the food, they've eaten all the small animals, and now they're starting to actually get big enough that they're killing gators. Nick says, "See, Peter might have armadillos." Maybe. Frank says, "Why has Peter not joined us here?" I don't know. I guess he's working. Frank says, "I too am a little spicy." Oh, you're more than a little, my friend. Chad says, "We do have an alligator farm by us. My son's girlfriend works there in the summers. Tell her to keep her hands and legs in the boat." In the story that one of the stories I'm writing for Patreon, the guy helps out with alligator hunting. Unpermitted killing, harming, or transporting of an alligator is considered a third-degree felony. How much do the swamp people get for each gator? Licensed trappers in Florida get a $30 to $50 stipend from the state for nuisance gators. Plus, they can sell hides and meat, while stars of shows like Swamp People earn much more, with estimates of $10,000 to $25,000 per episode, making their income far higher per gator, though the market for products fluctuates. So you're basically getting $30 to $50 a gator. In Louisiana, you are not allowed to nighttime hunting of gators. And each tag is about $25 for residents and $150 for non-residents. Runs for 60 days. Chad says, if this were the late 70s, you could flush the gator and it would grow giant size and take over the city. Yeah, pretty much, which is what happened down in South Florida with all the snakes. Idiots brought all these snakes in the 70s, and they're like, holy crap, this thing's 15 feet long. Well, you know what? They're too big to flush down the toilet. Let's just go throw it in the creek. And then it made its way to the Everglades, and then it started killing everything. You're allowed to kill an alligator on your property if you were protecting the life of a child or pet. Although the thing I just looked up now, it says, yes, it is legal to hunt and kill Canada geese in the U.S. and Canada, but only under specific, highly regulated conditions. They're still protected, even though they were going to try to pull that because there were so many of them. Apparently, they have not. They do have established hunting seasons. The only approved methods for hunting Canada geese are typically shotguns with non-toxic shot or archery tackle. Using rifles, poisons, or traps is illegal. It is also illegal to let the meat of a hunted animal spoil. The meat must be utilized. Frank says, I've eaten gator. It's tasty. Ron Guidry, gator? Oh. Chad says, my son and his girlfriend have an anaconda. It has its own room. They use the buddy system when feeding it, but that still makes me nervous. Yeah, that's why. What's the point of that? You're supposed to start with, I have an anaconda, and my son and his girlfriend also. See, brag a little bit. Lorraine says, I ordered gator at a restaurant in New Jersey, but they were out. All those crazy New Jersey gator from the swamps of New Jersey. They were out because it was probably killed from all the toxic fumes and 55-gallon barrels of radium that they dumped. I watched the Alaska State Troopers show the other day, and the guy went to a call because a family was driving down the road in Alaska, and a a moose came running out, and they hit the moose, and it messed up their car. And it was a baby moose; it wasn't even a big one, and I just totally like an accordion with their car. But it died and was on the side of the road. So then, what they say in Alaska, what they do is they call it in and they say, well, we have the people, even though they hit it, they're not allowed to legally take it. There are charities. There's a rolling list of charities. And so whoever's next on the list gets called, and they have like 2 hours or something to come out and harvest the animal and take all of the meat and everything for their charity. And if they're unable to do it, if they can't make it within 2 hours, then we call the next person on the list. And there are several dozen on this list. But they said I think every some ridiculous, like every hour or every 2 hours, someone in Alaska hits a deer or a moose or something. That's a lot of meat. Isn't there a flesh-eating street drug called gator? Chaz says, wait, it's called crocodile. Frank says, I have a gator in New Jersey. And you know what the problem is? Lorraine and her family are there. They want to order it because they're not from New Jersey. And they're like, oh, no, that jerk in the corner over there ordered the last gator. And there's Frank Edler eating the gator, you can be fined $5,000 to $15,000 or more, and even imprisonment because it's a violation of federal law if you kill a Canada goose without a proper permit and or outside of the legal seasons. There's a documentary about crocodile, nasty stuff. Sure, it is. I'm sure there aren't a lot of documentaries about how great drugs are. Although, you know what, there probably are people that have done that. What is this? Nicholas Zinn sent me my money. Nick and Peter are both in for the for MondoCon. Thank you, Nicholas. Oh no, this isn't for MondoCon. This is for the Billy Milano fan club dues. you crazy smart aleck. Crazy smart aleck. I did like that, Nick. I appreciate that. You know who was also going to like that? My wife. I feel like I got to sneeze again. I've been sneezing a lot. Right from all the dust in this office. My wife's always like, "Make sure you dust your office." Yeah, okay. I'm gonna do that. But then we hire a woman who comes in and house cleaning, like right before big holidays and stuff, because my wife is busy and I'm not gonna do it. But she never comes to my office. She's always like, I'm you got so much stuff in here. I don't want to touch anything and break something. I'm like, it's fine. No problem. If you break it, you break it. She won't do it. And I'm like, why are we paying this woman? She does the rest of the house. She doesn't do my office. Nick says Scott Ian would be the president of that club. Yeah. And Billy would be so upset. Because you know why? If he was president of that $75 you sent me would have went to Scott Ian. And he would have given half of it to Charlie. Billy is too punk rock for Charlie and Scott. But he gave them street cred back in the day at CBGB and whatnot. So at that point, they were grateful for his presence. And then they were like, oh, wait a minute. This guy's an idiot that we can make a lot of money off of him and basically steal every penny for ourselves. Let's do this. You'll get my money when I secure my real ID. Chad says, who else didn't know that Billy played bass until that interview? I knew that. It's like I had the band, I had their demo when I was doing tape trading. So I'm in this short mystery groups.io thing, and it's really good because a lot of it tells it a lot of people in it, tons like thousands of people in it, all crime and mystery writers, and we all talk about where we're getting short stories published, what new places are out there, what's good, what's not. But then every now and then we get something. Lady posted a question like 5 days ago. Do you think you'd make a great sleuth? And everybody's answering, like 3,000 people. And at some point, I'm like, all right, now I got to go in to the group and basically I have to mute this topic because literally, I just opened. Oh, there's like 37 messages. They're all going to be like, yes, I would make a great one. No, I would make a horrible one, and that's it. But it just doesn't seem interesting. Yeah, I'm complaining. I don't care. It's Wednesday. It's not Friday. Hmm. Oh no, not IO. Yeah, yeah, IO. Heyo. Hmm. I guess Substack. I guess the big thing to do on Substack is to write short stories and flash fiction. Good times. I wanted to do an hour and a half, so we're almost there. I started one of the two other books I promised myself I would read this this month. I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I just don't feel like picking the books I want to read really works out for me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to read what I want to read. I'm just going to pick up a random book and read it. I don't think announcing here's the 4 or 5 books I'm going to read this month. I don't think that was a good move for me. Because what if I don't like it? What if I'm just not into the book? Chess says there's still people making money selling shorts on Amazon, just like 100 of them a year. I don't know. I don't believe so. The group that I'm in, we're all uh, thriller authors, and we're all like, "Hey, here's a new magazine that just came out," or "This magazine is closing," or whatever. Or a lot of people are like, "I don't do. I'm not giving my stuff away," and other people are like, "I don't care. I'm writing so many stories. I just want to land them." So no, no, there's never any fighting, but it's just like, "Hey, I just got a story in the new Ellery Queen, issue," and then 400 people have to say congrats. Chet says, or go with recommendation from people you trust and who know your tastes. What group is that? It's called, what did I just say it was called? It's called Shut Your Mouth, talking to me like that. Let me look it up. Short Mystery, all one word, on the groups.io. It is very, what do you call it? People are interacting all the time. I'm getting I don't know, 30 or 40 messages a day on there at least. At least. When he says, yeah, better to keep the negatives to ourselves. Mama taught me if you don't have something good to say about somebody, don't say it. Yeah. That's why a lot of times I just don't even, I'm just quiet for days. Oh, it's an email list. Pass. I wouldn't mind joining a forum message board. Nobody fucking asked you to join it. It's up to you. Chad, whatever you want to do. I have found a lot of good, what do you call it from there. But you continue to be negative about everything. I mean, that's on you, my friend. Every Substack thing I get is somebody's writing a short story. They're all sending their free short stories. I have this one person that keeps sending me updates, like on a daily update of what they're working on. I'm like, I don't want to be a jerk, but just I don't care. I'm busy doing other things. Said the guy who just ranted for 5 minutes about the group. Exactly. Wait, does this mean cannot have a negative Thursday? Yeah, this is apparently a negative Thursday. Although I think we have to call it first. I don't think you could just have a negative Thursday. I think legally we have to say, hey, next week is negative Thursday. On a positive today, I was supposed to go for blood work this morning, but then the doctor's office did not have an opening, which is nice. And then they called and I was like, all right, can I make it for I'll make it for next Thursday morning. And I did. And then my wife said, no, I'm going to be in Atlanta then. And I know you want me to go with you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going in there by myself. I don't know how to do any of that. So I made it for the following week. So now we go all the way into March before I have to get blood work, which is fine with me. Like this one dude, he does daily drabbles. John Watson, horror author. And those are cool because, again, they should be 100 words. That's what a drabble is. I haven't counted them, but so it gives you like 3 every few days, which is nice, easy reads. Nice, easy Lou reads. I'm going to tell you my Lou Reed story. Me and my brother went to New York, and my brother was going to see the Knicks at the Garden. And I am not a fan of basketball at all. And I was going to like, I don't know where we were going. I don't remember who I was with. We were going to like Irving Plaza. We were going to the Ritz. We were going somewhere to see a show. And we met back outside of Madison Square Garden. Like on the inside, the old garden. Not the old garden, just the old one. And there's a dude leaning up against the wall, with his foot against the wall, smoking a cigarette inside. And one of the people that was with us was like, there's a cop right there. Why you're not allowed to smoke in here? And he was like getting all crazy. And then my brother said, Shut the F up. That's Lou Reed. Lou Reed can do anything he wants in New York City. And it was true. He just sitting there smoking a cigarette, just talking to people. I'm like, you know what? Lou Reed, he can probably do whatever he wants. Did anyone catch the mild drama about a certain zine submission guidelines? Yeah, do share, Frank. Chad says, you know what? I second Chad's motion. Because I have not heard this, I don't believe. But I would like to. I would like to be in the know. The Felt Forum. Yeah, I think it was right outside the Felt Forum. But that doesn't answer the zine question. My coffee's cold. Frank, we're still waiting. Two chicks did a YouTube podcast complaining about the horror zine submission guidelines. Let me get more info. Okay. Hmm. Rosalind rants on YouTube. All right, I'll have to look that up. Let me write that down. We'll look that up. Thank you, Frank. Nobody go over there now, though. Stay right here. We still got a few more minutes to talk. Peter Marsh, what? I have to comment on YouTube now. There's Peter Marsh from Texas. Nick Zinn. Complaining about the guidelines of a For the Love publication, but complaining about all the wrong points, in my opinion. Peter Marsh, using my work YouTube account. There's Peter. Someone on Facebook was ranting about the video. So it's a For the Love publication, and they're complaining about the wrong stuff. Okay, that's interesting. I will definitely check that out. I'll be on for about another 7 minutes. So 7 minutes, throw it at me. Nice Lovecraft shirt. This is actually not a Lovecraft shirt. This is actually, it's from a Hallmark movie that I really enjoy. Nick asking the question, Peter, do you have any armadillos by you? Peter says, I've never seen one in person, but they absolutely live in this area. It is the mascot for one of the schools I support. Lorraine says, they keep digging up my backyard, them or giant squirrels. Or maybe giant squirreladillas, because those things mate and they make these giant squirrels with shells on them. They're terrifying. Lorraine says, I've never seen one alive, just dead on the road. Yeah, you see a lot of them. Mike Lee, tall Mike, just sent me a message. He said, your videos have been playing so long in the background at work that I forgot they were there until I had a meeting, turned my volume up, and had to ask who the guy talking was. I only realized what had happened when nobody else could hear the mysterious voice. That's funny. Peter says, you live in Texas, Lorraine? No, not Texas, the only place for armadillos, Peter. Come on. Lorraine lives in Georgia. Well, now he's Talmud. He's Talmud because we're live here. You know what his real name is. Coyotes, too. All from Texas. Coyotes. Nothing here to stop them except cars. Yeah. We just got all the gators and the crocs eat all the armadillos. Lorraine only eats Jersey gator, though. Yeah. She's an aficionado. When I lived in Palm Coast in Florida, we had a lot of tiny little black scorpions and wild boars. And one time when my kids were little, we were getting them ready for school, and they were at the back sliding glass doors in the living room, and they were looking out. And then I think Caitlin was, I don't know what she was like, 4 or something. She was like, Piggy! And we look outside, and there's this giant wild boar. I mean, the thing was like 5 foot, standing on 4 legs. It was huge. And there was an armadillo crouched out in the ground, and the thing bit the top of the armadillo and crunched right through the shell and ate it. I'm like, okay, close these blinds, kids. It's time for school. Yeah. And then took him to school, and then when I came back, I looked outside, and there was like just some blood in the grass. But that boar had just completely eaten every part of that armadillo, including the shell. In my city, they have Armadillo Con, not to be confused with Mondo Con. Yeah, I mean that's too close. I'm going to sue them. Lorraine says New Jersey, only place I've seen it offer. You've ever been south here to Florida? Half the restaurants down here offer gator. Lorraine still doesn't know what it tastes like. It tastes like chicken. Everything tastes like chicken. There's Charlie. How's it going for you, my friend? Nick says boar roast for MondoCon. That thing was gigantic. Like if we caught that, but we could have fed 30 of us. Lorraine says Hogzilla eating his sidekick. Yeah. beer, bear, bar, armadillo bar. Lorraine says she don't get down to Florida. I get to Georgia though. Next week I was supposed to go to Georgia. I was supposed to go to Atlanta with my wife, but I'm not going to go. It's too much work. If it's not offered in a 20-mile radius, I won't see it these days. Yeah. No. Frank says, a lot of people think gator tastes like chicken, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It tastes exactly like alligator. Really? I've never had it. I don't think I will have it. Chaz says, it's good to see you getting so much interaction in here, Armando, as well as all those subs. Very happy for you. Chad, I appreciate that. And you know what? I'm glad, not only that, listen, obviously I'm trying to get my 4,000 hours. I've got, I don't know, what do I got? Almost 6,700 subscribers. And yeah, it's like, the money is good and blah, blah, blah kind of thing. That's why I'm doing this, because I want to get monetized. But I also have fun doing this. And it's never like, oh, I don't want to go on and write. It's like, hey, I'm going to go on and hang out with a bunch of people, and we're going to talk about some random stuff, and I'm going to look up random things. And I like doing it here rather than on just on Twitch, because then you can't see what I'm writing and you can't see what I'm looking up or what I'm reading right now, which is nice. Then I just get to, various questions. We throw stuff out there. So thank you. Frank says, gator is often fried. I just eat it raw. I just basically go right into the pond. Peter says, to get an interaction of views, you need to have some kind of charisma on here. So I don't have charisma, Peter? Maybe pretend I just gave you the middle finger. Lorraine says, when I started my channel 3 months ago, you were at about 550 subs, and look at you now. Congrats. Thank you. I always say this. November 9th, right, which is November, December, January, February. So 3 months ago, I was at 355 subs. So I've gained, 6,000 something. I've gained a lot of subs, and I've gained a lot of hours. So I am very happy. Frank says, top 10 cuts of gator meat, go. Peter says, I am saying the opposite, dude. Charisma, great disco era Kiss tune. Chad says, Amazon created a way yet where if someone looks at your Amazon page, it's only your books and not a bunch of anthologies? No. They want to show you everything under the sun. Frank says, pretty sure they use it in the opening of a smuggler show. Chad says, it is, Frank, charisma. There's a lot of alligator bites recipes. The best way to fry an alligator, Don't put your hand in its mouth, number one. Number two, dredge each piece in the breading batter mix and add to the oil. Fry for 1 to 2 minutes or until crisp. Remove the fried alligator to a plate lined with paper towels. Serve immediately. You should soak alligator before cooking, as brining or marinating is highly recommended to tenderize the lean meat and remove any gamey flavor, often using buttermilk or a salty spiced liquid for several hours or overnight for best results. A part of the alligator is best for frying the tail and white meat. Gator fritters are the move. Lorraine says, how did the YouTube algorithm finally tune into your special charisma to jump 3,000? I'm going to tell you how. Look at this package. I'm going to tell you what the turnaround was. I did a video called "How I Write 400,000 Words in a Year," and basically the idea was I watched a bunch of other writers that were doing videos, and they said the best thing you can do, turn that fan off, is do how I videos starting with how I, or any of that kind of stuff. And when I did that video got a ton of views, and it just really just jumped from there. So I've done a bunch of other videos of how I, or why I, like yesterday's video is why I write about food so much in my stories, how I look at writing panels, how I juggle writing projects, how I started releasing audiobooks. So those have really how I choose beta readers. So like that one, for instance, got 1,664 views, 10 comments though. Comments also help push the algorithm. Like, let me find the first how video. And then when you get more people, then you got more people looking. Like how I review other authors' books. That video got 11,818 views. Not everybody liked it, apparently. I got 95.7% liked. That means at least one idiot didn't like it. Well, then just don't watch it. How I created the Mondo method of writing, 21,538 views, 94.8% likes. Again, don't do that. Yeah, how I write 400K years, 3,240. So that was really the first one that I noticed really taking off. That was back on November 9th. So that was the start. That video really kicked it off for me. So I was doing a ton of different videos. Now the other stuff is catching up, and it's doing it, but that was the kind of the thing. Frank says, the salty spiced liquid, you say. Oh, I say it. Lorraine says, oh, probably not about the salty spiced liquid. Chaz says, on top of that video, Armand, I think it was consistent content. Yeah, that was the other thing that people were saying. Do the how I videos, one a week, one a month, two, however you want to do it, but you got to be consistent with time and when they're coming out and what other things you're doing. So I'm doing every Wednesday and every Sunday at about 11 a.m. my time, I post another one because I looked at the analytics and I see when are most people looking at my videos. And it's from 11 a.m. to like 2 p.m. usually every day. I also looked at who is watching the videos, and it's really like 25 and up, male or female, doesn't matter. So I looked at all of those things, and I watched a lot of other people putting content, but not just anybody, not like, oh, he does finance and he's making $1 billion. Only writers that are doing this, that are showing their numbers and showing what they're doing. And so for me, it's like there's some people that are like, I put one post a month out, and I'm like, I don't want to do one post a month. I want to do one post a day or more. Like even the coffee of the day video shorts, I get a lot of interaction on those, and I also get a lot of subscriptions. I'm never going to make, you know, the billions of video of those you have to watch to make it, but it helps bring in the people. Where it says, I've got to try that one. Yeah, it's at first I was like, let me just give it a shot. And that one took off. That was literally November 9th. That video took off for me. Charlie says, I think I'll do a video how I write 400 words a week. And you know what? As long as you're as good looking as I am, and you're as funny and you have such a great personality like I do, you'll get 11,000 views on that video. Lorraine says, I often get more comments than views. We get chatty at One Story House. Yeah. But you know what? It all counts. It all helps the algorithm. So every comment, every like, obviously the watch time, all of that goes into the algorithm, and helps you build up. Charlie says, if I break 100 views, I'm excited. Lorraine says, I get a lot of views for most of my videos, but my subscriber number isn't going up by leaps and bounds yet. But I do enjoy the conversation. And you know what? And it builds. And almost every single one of these videos of these people that I watch and take notes, all of them say, all of a sudden, it's just a random video. And you're not even like, oh, this is the video. You're just like, I'm just posting another video. And something happens in that video, you say something, somebody connects on it, and all of a sudden you get 11,000 people watch that video. It's like you can't go, okay, this is the video and I'm going to do this. It just happens. It literally just happens. So that's what you got to do. And a lot of times, like the book review I did, Spawn of the Serpent God, this morning, I got 8 views on it so far. But I do have a comment on it. And the other thing is to answer comments quickly. Oh, it's this Charlie guy. Thank you, Charlie, for the comment. I commented back, and then that's what builds it. Because then they show it to more and more people. Frank says, what if I have the personality of a wet rag? Here's the problem with that. So you don't think, or you're unsure if you do have the personality of a wet rag, I think would be the first question. Lorraine says, hardly, Frank. Frank would be banned on YouTube in about, 3 videos in. Lorraine says, oh, I always like that you always respond to my comments with more than a darn heart or like, Armand, thanks. And that's the other part of it is the engagement. They want to see engagement, and it's not just like. I'm also following other people. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. You ready? I'm going to let you in on something, and you can copy this if you want. Let me find it. Let me find one. So every day, several times a day, I go on YouTube and I go to usually book reviews or publishing or thrillers or whatever it is. They give you the ones at the top. And then I find something within like the last 3 days, if possible, and I click on their video and I watch their video. Anything like 10 minutes or less, 15 minutes. I'll watch their video, and if it's interesting, this is what I say. I say, glad I found and subscribed to your channel. I've already hit the subscribe button on theirs. Us writers and readers need to stick together and follow one another. I comment on that. Now I say that on their video. And then on the side column where it has other like-minded videos, I find the next person and I click. And if I'm not following that person, I watch their videos. It's important you watch their video, or at least a portion of their video. You hit the subscribe button, and then the next time, glad I found it, subscribe to your channel. Us writers and readers need to stick together and follow one another. And then I just hit the space bar. And then I find a third one. And then at the end, I put an exclamation point. And then I don't touch anymore for a couple hours. And I do that 3 or 4 times a day when I'm kind of bored and I'm like, all right, this is because I'm adding readers. I'm adding, book reviews are going to be readers. Okay. So I'm looking up people like here. I'm just looking at this page. There's one, Abby Reads. She posted a video from 10 days ago. I know I follow her already, but her video is 9 minutes and 30 seconds. So that's a great video to just watch the video. I'll post that comment. Sometimes I do a follow-up comment if I agree or disagree. Not if I disagree, but if I agree with what she's saying. There's a lot of little free library ones. So I'll post something about having my own little free library. Sometimes I'll see I had a woman who does one, and she's in Jacksonville. And I'm like, I have been to your little free library probably twice a year for the last 5 years, kind of thing. And I actually put my own books in there, and then she and I are having a conversation back and forth. So it's also your engagement with other people too, because you engaging and talking to other people on YouTube, the algorithm is seeing that you're not just doing a flyby and you're just commenting in post. I used to have another message, but it was a little more, hey, I subscribe to you, you should subscribe to me kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm going to get in trouble with that one. So I stopped it. Yeah, Troy says that comes to me. I realized that as soon as I saw it. Peter says 3 videos in. Lorraine wants to know what Charlie channel's about. Frank says it's been a long time since I've been engaged. I'm going to be honest with you. You're probably never going to get engaged again. That woman will kill you before she lets you leave. Peter says I have 3 YouTube channels, by the way. Frank says, I noticed a lot of successful videos start with a 15 to 30 second teaser to draw you in to click play. How long does YouTube show a preview of your video? So they want the first, what did the one guy say? It's like 17 to 34 seconds or something of your opening of your video. You need to hook the person. So now, I don't know if you've noticed, anybody who's watched these videos after or jumped in right when I do, I come in, I'm like, hey, what's going on? So today we're going to do this, and I kind of give you a summary for like a minute of what I'm doing today. And so that helps people watching the videos after the fact, because I used to, on Twitch, you would pop in and I'd just be sitting here typing. And then it'd be like 4 minutes would go by. Frank would make a comment and I would eventually say something. Well, those old videos are not going to get people to watch me, but to interact and stuff like that, that's what are getting people to watch. Frank says, like you need a sort of scripted teaser opening line to start all your videos. Capiche? Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot of videos where they're editing a clip from the video. And it could be like the cat jumps on the sofa, or the one I was watching all the time. She gave a lot of information. I can't remember her name, but all of a sudden you hear a banging noise somewhere in the house, and she's just like, and that's the opening clip. You hear the bang, and she's like, I'm home alone. And it just ends up that like something fell in the living room or something. A little teaser there. I'm not going to do all that. That's just too much. That's just too much work that I don't know how to do it. I'm leading with this. Charlie says, Lorraine, mostly horror book story reviews. Sometimes I'll talk about writing other books' horror movies. Troy says, I just started making videos a couple of months ago and they are not good yet. Peter says we could do a little swap. If you guys want to tell me your channel names, I can subscribe. That's a good idea. It's a very good idea, Peter. Frank says they've got me to watch other videos. Perhaps it's a practice you could use also. Peter says, and I can give you mine. You show me yours, I'll show you mine, Peter says. Chad says, I got burned out doing the Creepy Couch channel after hitting 1,000 subscribers and then only getting 100 more subs over the course of the next 4 months. We might start it up again soonish, though. Frank says, I think you do it just by talking. Lorraine says, Charlie, self-published horror books too? How about horror light without gore, more literary leaning? See, this is it. We're building a community here, people. We're building a community. We're all helping each other out. That's the deal. Actually, I think if Frank was on here on his own YouTube channel, I would enjoy watching that. You could do reviews. You could do all kinds of stuff. I was doing interviews, and then I realized that the return on investment for the amount of time it was taking me to chase people down, to set up the interview and all this stuff, which I was like, it's just not worth it. So they're still up. There's still like a dozen of them up there, but I'm not going to do it anymore because I don't feel I need to, because the stuff that I'm doing is more than enough. Troy says, yes, I plan to talk about any horror. Frank says, Peter, give me your digits. Peter says, it's not even Positive Friday. I know. I mean, really, by tomorrow, I'm going to be burned out with all this positive. Chad says, I would totally watch Frank, right? Frank says, and by digits, I mean, it's Saturday night. I'm drunk and you look delicious. Lorraine says, I have one such book in the works right now. Charlie says, I'm terrible with titles. Right now, my channel name is C. Walls Writer. I'm still brainstorming channel names. Frank says, there's random crap on my YouTube channel. I cleaned up a lot of the old YouTube videos that either fix the descriptions or the titles and whatnot. And then I started doing, if you haven't noticed, I started doing that blue background thing, so that the first thing you see wasn't me rubbing my nose or touching my head or something. Yeah, that was the other thing. One of the things was don't just give it a name. Like, basically they're saying don't do C. Walls Writer all as one word. Give it a name. That's why I was like, you know what? It's my opinion on stuff, so I'm going to do with Armand's opinion. That's the name of my channel. You can see my name in the description. I have all my links in the description. I am making sure on any of the videos I do that there is a Amazon associate link to either my books, or like when I did the Tim Wagner one video this morning, that link is on there. You've got an extra subscriber now, Charlie. Franco says Armcast. Yeah. Lorraine says, has everyone except me on this live chat met Armand before? I'm the old man woman out, I think. The odd man out, not the old man out. The odd man woman out, I think. No, I've never met Peter in person, although he's coming to MondoCon in August. I've never met Charlie. Nick, Frank, they've both been to my house several times over the years. Old too. Peter says, I haven't met in person, but that is going to change. He thinks so. I'm not letting him in my house. Yeah, Peter will be here in August, July, August. Frank says, I never met Armand in person. You were still in my presence. You just always blindfolded yourself in my presence. And there are other people that jump in from time to time. So Tom Duffy, who jumps in here occasionally, he was here at some point today. He actually lives at my mother-in-law's house. Him and his girl are They live over there because my mother-in-law has dementia, so we need somebody to live there. So we worked out a deal. So he's like 20 minutes away, and I see him less now in the year he's been in Florida. Chad says, I've never met Armin, but we've known each other for several years now. We're buddies. Let's not push it to anything other than buddies or acquaintances, though. Charlie says, we've never met. I used to listen to Armcast some back in the day. Yep, very, very cool. I enjoyed that. I was told not to gaze upon your awesomeness, which is the right thing to do. I mean, we wouldn't spoon, but we're good. You know what? I disagree. I think I'm bigger than you, and I could force you to spoon with me. And you know what you'd have? No choice but to spoon with me. Charlie, I was not subscribing to you. I thought I was. Yeah, just keep knocking those videos out, man. I see a lot of people that are also reading their short stories on here as well. I don't know if that's a thing. I wouldn't do it. I don't like to read in front of people. Lorraine says, funny. Okay, now I don't feel like I crashed a party I wasn't invited to. Yeah, it'd be funny. Like everybody but Lorraine has met me and hung out with me. Frank says it's a professor-student relationship with Chad. Yes, exactly. Chad agrees. Someday the student will become the master. I mean, probably not. We went over 2 hours again today. Nice. I would do another freaking hour, but I got therapy at 3 o'clock. Let's see who the top fans are and how many points they got. Ooh, Lorraine, 225 points. Chad, 175. Frank, 150. Everybody else has got. Oh, no. Keith, Peter, and Nick have 75. Charlie only has 50. Tom has 50. And Matt has 25. Okay. There's my top 9. Says I have 7 on right now. Nice. As usual, though, guys, this was fun. I like hanging out with you. We will definitely do this again tomorrow for Positive Friday, and I have nothing tomorrow. I would really like to do like a really crazy long day. I have coffee in the morning and some donuts with Andrea and Win. So hopefully I will have a couple of donuts I will be eating as well. Should be nice, I think. I think that would be really nice. For instance, we should do like that metal show and create a list board that you do the final rankings of. That would be nice. Best places to get gator meat. 5 minutes from Lorraine's house. Like, here's the list. I'll be honest though, I would, and I think all of us would love to watch Frank do a free for all show. Lorraine says I'll do a commercial, but I expect royalties. The royalties will be here's a couple of gator bites for free. Oh, gator bites. Right, so that'll it's easy. You know what, gator bite? I'll do it. No, you perform for me, monkey. Frank says. You know what? Yeah, you're probably right. Probably better this way. If you were doing video, I'd get nothing done. I would just be watching them. I've been offered worse. Yep. Haven't we all? All right, everybody. I am going to wrap this up. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thank you to everybody who has been watching, putting me on in the background and watching. I am about halfway there to monetized. Lorraine mad at her pinky finger. Frank, I gotta wait until the kids move out to get my studio back. You know darn well one of those kids is not gonna move out. That's what always happens. One kid's gonna be like 30 still living there, and your wife's gonna be like, no, I love having her here, eating all the food, barely working. See you later, Lorraine. Glad you made it on here too, Peter, because Nick really had to know about armadillos, and he would have been crazy. So again, noon Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. I will be back. We're going to do another couple of hours tomorrow. I'm going to get some more writing in. We're going to get a lot more talking in. Frank says, "No, you have me confused with my in-laws." Yeah, and I bring some things to talk about. I'll look things up and we'll chat about them. See everybody later. Continue to have a good Thursday.